The Miami sun blazed over the sleek, glass-paneled studio of Stories of Justice, a high-profile talk show known for its sharp debates and fiery interviews. The anticipation was electric. Fans, journalists, and critics alike tuned in to witness what was expected to be an intense exchange between the legendary Snoop Dogg and the controversial liberal talk show host, Jamie Carter. As the countdown timer hit 0, the camera panned to the grand stage, bathed in blue and gold hues. Jamie Carter, a polished, sharp-eyed host known for pushing his guests to the limit, sat poised with a smirk. Across from him, Snoop Dogg, the rap icon, cultural phenomenon, and unshakable force of cool, reclined in his chair with effortless swagger, a faint smirk playing on his lips. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jamie announced, "tonight we welcome a man who needs no introduction, Snoop Dogg. But tonight we're not just talking music. We're talking accountability, culture, and influence." Snoop nodded, adjusting his signature shades. "Let's get it." Jamie leaned forward, his tone shifting from cordial to confrontational. "Snoop, you've been a voice in hip-hop for decades. But with influence comes responsibility. Some argue that your music, your brand, and your lifestyle promote a message that isn't exactly constructive for society." A hushed silence fell over the audience. The tension was palpable. Snoop exhaled, measured. "That's interesting, Jamie. But let me ask you something. Who defines what's constructive? The people? The media? Or the folks sitting behind the cameras pulling the strings?" The audience murmured. Jamie tilted his head. "So, are you saying you don't hold any responsibility for the message you put out?" Snoop chuckled, shaking his head. "Nah, what I'm saying is, I tell stories. Stories about where I come from, about struggle, about survival. Now, if my words help someone, that's real. If they entertain someone, that's cool too. But responsibility, that's on every person walking this earth to handle their own." Jamie pressed on, undeterred. "But isn't it fair to say that celebrities, especially artists like you, shape culture? When you rap about certain topics, violence, wealth, rebellion, don't you think that influences young minds?" Snoop leaned forward, removing his sunglasses. His eyes locked onto Jamie's. "Jamie, you ever watch a war movie?" Jamie blinked. "Of course. You ever listen to rock music, read a crime novel, watch a TV show with corrupt politicians?" "Yes, but..." "So why is it that when a rapper talks about real life, it's a bad influence? But when Hollywood does it, it's entertainment?" The studio went silent. Jamie opened his mouth, but no words came out. The audience erupted in cheers. Jamie cleared his throat, attempting to regain control. "That's a clever deflection, Snoop, but let's talk about your advocacy. You've openly criticized political figures, media personalities, and societal norms. Some might call that divisive." Snoop tilted his head. "Divisive? Nah, man. What's divisive is folks telling people what to think instead of letting them think for themselves. I just put the truth out there. If that makes some folks uncomfortable, maybe they need to check themselves." Jamie leaned back, visibly grasping for a counter. "So, you don't believe in political correctness?" Snoop smirked. "I believe in realness, and realness don't come with a script." The crowd erupted again, laughter rippling through the room. Jamie, for the first time in his career, looked outmatched. He took a deep breath. "All right, Snoop, let's switch gears. You've been a champion of the underprivileged, advocating for criminal justice reform. But some critics argue that your past contradicts your message. What do you say to that?" Snoop clasped his hands together, his voice steady. "I say growth is a beautiful thing. See, folks love to bring up the past, but they never want to talk about the journey. I came from the struggle, made my mistakes, learned my lessons. Ain't that what life's about?" Jamie hesitated. "So, you're saying people should be forgiven for their past actions?" Snoop nodded. "If they learn, if they grow, if they use their platform to make a difference, hell yeah." The audience roared with approval. Jamie's expression flickered with frustration. He had tried to corner Snoop, but every answer had turned into a powerful statement, a lesson that resonated beyond the walls of the studio. Then the final blow came. Jamie, in a last-ditch effort, asked, So what's your message to the youth watching this right now? Snoop leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. Be real. Be kind. Think for yourself. And most of all, don't ever let someone else tell you who you are. A standing ovation erupted. Even Jamie, though reluctant, nodded in acknowledgement. The interview that had started as a battle had become something more. An unforgettable lesson in authenticity, resilience, and wisdom. As the cameras faded to black, social media exploded. The clip of Snoop Dogg's responses spread like wildfire, sparking debates on media bias, free speech, and the power of standing one's ground. That night, Snoop Dogg didn't just win an interview. He changed the conversation forever. In the days that followed, think pieces flooded online platforms. Supporters hailed Snoop Dogg as a voice of reason in a world driven by sensationalism. Others debated the implications of his words, dissecting each response with precision. Jamie Carter, meanwhile, found himself both criticized and commended. His interview had made history, but at what cost to his credibility? Snoop, on the other hand, continued his work, unfazed by the media storm. He donated to community programs, mentored aspiring artists, and continued speaking his truth, knowing that real influence came not from scripted debates, but from the raw, unfiltered honesty of life itself.